Hello everybody, and just here and welcome back to Kaii to Otome Mysterious Disappearances episode 8, in which we will begin a new arc. It seems one that perhaps will last until the very end of the season. We're gonna begin a new arc because the what was it called? Funijiao, something like that, some Chinese name. The Skinwalker Replacer Red Girl thingamajig. That arc ended in a previous episode, and we don't really have much of a tie into today's one, so it's probably going to be a whole new story. In a previous episode, what exactly happened? Well, everybody was running away from the monster, and eventually they holed themselves up in the maid cafe, and by them I mean Sumireko Oto and Shizuku. And in the end, Shizuku decided that yeah, she's going to face her friend. They haven't seen each other for a good while, for a long time. So even if she is to replace her, to take her place, then she at least wants to see her one last time. And so she barred the door so Sumireko and Oto can't stop her, and went on to meet her friend. We also got a little bit more backstory on her. Shizuku being the being a very neglected child, given a handful of yen and told to fuck off, while her mother was shagging with some random dude. And she didn't really have any close friends, any friends whatsoever, because all the people that she thought were her friends apparently only were taking pity on her, and even that to a point. Eventually, even they stopped, allowing her to get inside to eat some dinner with them, which is very shitty behavior, but it is what it is. And eventually Shizuku met her friend. I'm using the word her friend because I forgot her name. But yeah, she met her, and she also was a neglected child, seemingly, but in a different way. Instead of her parents throwing her out, her parents seemingly were never home. So that was perfect for Shizuku, because they could always hang around together. They had a place, right? And she was the one to save her, figuratively and perhaps even literally. So of course Shizuku felt indebted, and not just indebted, but also, she really wanted to meet her friend one last time. And true to the legend that evolved even further, Shizuku was whisked away and turned into the Fennixiao. Fennixiao, that was the name. Turned into the Fennixiao while her friend got freed from that fate. And that would have been it. Not quite, because she would go on to hunt more people. But thankfully Ren arrived, armed with Oto's perfect grade score test, because apparently Fennixiao also had some properties of toilet-bound Hanako-chan, whatever, and apparently the best way to get rid of that spirit is to present it with a test sheet scored 100%. So that weakened Shizuku, so she could be taken to the station and exercised, essentially. So Ren got the cursed scissors that Shizuku's friend dropped as Fennixiao, exchanged it with the noose for a ticket as far as it can go, and the Fennixiao inhabiting Shizuku's body boarded the train and was carried off to the afterlife, somewhere in that direction probably, and that freed Shizuku. We also got a very interesting reaction from Sumireko, reaction to the news. Very adverse and very viscerally negative reaction, going beyond just mere fear of the unknown. And I wonder how much of it is because the news is not something that regular humans are supposed to even perceive, and how much of it is because Sumireko herself became a curiosity and the noose is collecting those curiosities. We'll see. We'll see about that. In the end, Ren also had some issues. He started bleeding with that like purple liquid from his eyes, but doesn't seem to be affecting his eyes proper. I don't know exactly what was that reaction. Did he actually use his eyes and just lied about using the test sheet? Did he actually use the test sheet and this is just a leftover from the last time he hurt his eyes, or what exactly is going on there? But we got a little bit more detail about him. And apparently, Ren and Otto are not blood siblings. Rather, it's Ren essentially adopting Otto and making it his goal in life to get her back to her original world, to show that she is needed, that there are people looking for her, etc., etc. And apparently, Ren, as long as he is in this world, he did not eat, he did not sleep, he did not rest. And I'm not sure why that is. Is it that he cannot do that because he has to, I don't know, consciously ward off this world wanting to get rid of them? Like, he constantly needs to, like, consciously anchor himself and Otto in this reality? Is it because this reality, like, this world kind of, like, I don't know, disagrees with him in a way where he cannot eat this earthly food because it's just not going to work anyway, or maybe it's even poison to him? What's exactly going on there? I don't know, but I'm so incredibly curious. We also got a glimpse at the wolf girl. I don't know what she's all about, but she's in the opening, so I'm assuming she's going to be significant. Perhaps this current arc is going to be about her. And today's episode is going to feature, I believe that was one of Otto's friends from school, but don't quote me on that. I think it was the underwear girl, the lingerie connoisseur, but I'm not 100% sure. Otto's friends definitely seem important, though, so wouldn't surprise me if they were given a bigger role here. Also, my like main running theory here is that Otto has a place. She has people who need her. She doesn't need to go back to her original world to find her place in the world, because she created it here. So maybe Ren doesn't really need to send her anywhere. I don't know. We'll see, and none of that will probably be answered in the time span on this season, but I'm assuming it's something that they're gonna be wrestling with in the source material. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what this episode brings. From this episode, I expect the starting of a new arc. We're gonna be probably introduced to new characters. Maybe it's gonna be more of a slice of lifey episode. Maybe we're gonna be introduced to the actual curiosity that's going to appear in this arc. Who's to say? We're gonna need to watch this episode, of course, to say for sure, right? To do that, you will need your subs, of course, to follow along with me. There we go. I'm gonna need my sound to see what's going on in the show. And I'm gonna have to ask you for support the channel if you want monetarily on Patreon, YouTube down below, or not. Share my content, spread the word, it costs you nothing and helps a lot. And with that, we can start watching episode 8 of Kaii to Otome in 3, 2, 1, go! Oh! Yeah! I'm surprised as well. Okay, I thought that he's just pulling a prank on Sumireko. And he's gonna be like, haha, you said fart! But no! Apparently a real fucking book. Mm-hmm. A little bit. A little bit. Oh? And why exactly are you looking for them? Oh, like your childhood books that you read as a child. Okay, gotcha. Hmm. Yeah, let's not drink this much coffee. Maybe. I really don't think that's a given. Although, shit, maybe. Like, his goal legitimately seems to be to get Otto back to her OG world, whether she actually needs that or not. As far as his goals for himself, there are none. He doesn't even plan to go with Otto. So I can see it essentially going two ways. Like his story, either he sends Otto away and he himself stays behind, or both of them stay behind, or he sends Otto away and sacrifices himself in the process, or Otto stays but he sacrifices himself along the line somewhere. Right? It's being teased pretty heavily that he's like on his last legs, barely alive. So it wouldn't surprise me if he came to a conclusion, to a decision that I don't have much time left anyway, so might as well use what's left of my life for the benefit of Otto, right? Whatever her benefit might be, whether it's returning or staying. Right, a mermaid. Broken fence? That's not an unusual sign. Right, gotcha. Thinking faster than being able to speak. Oh, and I'm assuming she went through that hole in the fence? Yep. Is it the same one? Or is it just a hole? What did she see? Who did she meet? Cat again. Oh, that's how she found the bookstore. That's a very weirdly located bookstore. Like standing alone in a grass field. That's some never-ending story thing. She's gonna meet fucking Atreyu, I swear. Oh, she was in the after credits scene. Not Otto's friend. Gotcha. Who might you be? A weird paranormal bookstore owner? Charybdis. I'm gonna have to look up that title. I know that Charybdis is like from Greek mythology, right? Scylla and Charybdis, two sea monsters. Oh, is she a mermaid? That's why she's reading about Charybdis. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, that's totally not ominous. Yeah, let's see you get immersed and say that again. There we go. Not so boring anymore, is it? Oh, is it like a mystery book? We're closing. Yep. Assuming you can find this place. And tomorrow the place was no longer there. Right? Oh, well, color me surprised. So it's more like a library than a bookstore. Learning some advanced words. Yeah, that really doesn't explain the nature of it, does it? Probably. Oh, Europa. I wonder if those are actual book titles. They seem like fairly generic far as titles go. Sure. Oh, okay. They're getting to, they're getting along. That's nice. So when does the bookstore disappear? Hmm. Okay, so is it like a curiosity, like an urban legend of a bookstore that appears when you need it the most, or like something like that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Makes sense. I suffer the exact same thing when I'm tired, as you could have probably seen multiple times on this channel when I'm having trouble finding the correct word. And yeah, it's of course something that you can train with writing, for example. Hmm. Is this how she started writing books? Yeah. And also, there's been like actual scientific study saying that if you write something by hand, it has like a bigger impact on you. It connects your neurons more than if you were to like type it on your PC or say it or whatever. Like, proper writing actually, embeds this skill of using words more. And that's when the bookstore disappeared. Oh, hmm, yep. How about you go through? Apparently, you need it. Would have been easier if you de aged yourself. Exactly. There's no step bro to help you, so you gotta manage how you can. Yeah, age yourself back. Or not, I guess. Yeah, narrow passages might be hard to navigate for her adult self. And lo and behold, it's here. Gyokushin. Oh, maybe not. Hmm. Oh, gotcha. Makes sense. And his reaction? He knows it. He knows it. Of course he does. It's an urban legend. Yep. Okay, that's an old one. Mm-hmm. And that's where Gyokushin doll comes from. You bring them back. Or that. Okay. Well, time for the ill fortune. Or that she was hoping for an original book that no one ever read. Okay, you probably have like a spare copy laying around. So bring it. If you can find the bookstore again, that is. Oh, it's the VTuber again. Last we've seen her, it was Nodoka watching her. Yeah, the bookstore. Oh, curiosity and cursed objects are different. Probably not. Yeah. Right, not enough time for those items to like gain. Oh, the Chuba. The VTuber is a thing that people get attached to and send their energy to, and it becomes a fucking egregore. Not even like the talent behind it, but like the VTuber avatar itself. Watching a Hololive. Or that. uh, uh, don't show it to that other friend of yours. Yeah, apartment wife sounds much more real, doesn't it? Okay, I'm waiting for shit to hit the fan. These split right down the fucking middle. If that ain't symbolism, I don't know what is. It was so prevalent in where was that like vertical split so prevalent? It was Review Starlight, wasn't it? It was Review Starlight. Yeah. I can't help but keep noticing whenever the screen is like separated between two characters. Okay, she got a part-time job. I mean, she's not wrong. That's some deep lore. Rabbit, cat, and panda. Yeah, she really got into this role. Who might you be? No Doka's mother? Or just a random woman? Is it Nodoka being the VTuber? And like the school forbade her from... No. Oh, that's where the mermaid comes from, huh? Full moon. Okay. I guess shit did not hit the fan this episode. I'm assuming defecation hits the ventilation in the next episode then. I really like this ending. Not only because it's like painted with sand, but the music as well. The song is great. Yeah, there's the mermaid. So what do books and an old paranormal bookstore have to do with a mermaid VTuber? Or are they like two unrelated things? And that was the like wolf girl in the red coat, wasn't it? Oh, after credits scene. Oh? Is it her maid costume? Or just some pastries? Yeah, Tsukumogami. If I'm not mistaken, Tsukumogami is like a minor deity created by attachment to a thing, to an object, right? Like if a I don't fucking know, soldering iron is passed through generations and everybody uses the same exact soldering iron, then that soldering iron becomes a host to a deity of that soldering iron, right? Like something like that. Like, I know, weapons passed from the fucking Honju period or whatever. There was no Honju period, was it? Was there? You know what I mean? That's Tsukumogami, isn't it? Let's watch this episode again, shall we? Books. Farting the complete collection. I gotta look it up. I gotta look it up, man. Is it an actual book? Farting the complete collection. No. The closest there is Farts, the Encyclopedia of Flatulence, a comprehensive something, and there is the complete book of farts. Yeah. The complete book of farts by Alec Bromsey. Close enough. I really thought that it was Ren trying to pull a prank on her, but no. Apparently it's a real fucking book. Yeah, plenty of books you never knew. Yeah, she's looking for books that she read in her childhood and she cannot remember their titles or what they even were. She just remembers how absorbing they were. Yeah, there's plenty of books that I like full proper remember from childhood. I even remember their titles. This is like another bit where I can really empathize with Sumireko her love for books, especially as a child. I was engrossed in books as a child. I would be borrowing them from the library by a fucking bag. The library at our school and in our town, because there was like school library and the town library in the like town hall thingy, they had limits. I believe you were allowed to borrow at most 3 books at once, and you had to return them in a month's time, something like that. But myself and a friend of mine were allowed to, like, specifically the 2 of us, and I think there were like a couple more people as well in the school who were like explicitly allowed to borrow more, to just not care about the limit, because we would read them soon enough and we would return them in time, no matter, well, close to no matter how many we would lend. So I really can empathize with her. Did books help me as a kid? I'm not sure. Not in the way they helped Sumireko. For me, books were always a way of escapism. Yeah, books were just escapism. The internet connection at our place was spotty. I wouldn't always want to be downstairs to watch the TV, so I would mostly just hole myself in my room and just read books by the fucking bag full. So they helped me survive, I guess you could say, in a little bit of a different way than they helped Sumireko, but still, I really can empathize. That's our goal as siblings. That's your goal. As far as we know, it is Otto's goal, but I really have a feeling it's going to change. Yeah, that's the Chuba, and that's the wolf girl that we haven't met yet. Okay, so, right. So, after... Wait. Something's not right with the timeline here? I wonder. Yeah, they're at the store talking about, the cans of coffee, and Sumireko's like past. Let me restart the camera real quick because I see it starting to do funky stuff. They were discussing that. Then we see Sumireko see the hole and reminisce. Right. Then we see her go through the hole. So it's now, right? Now. It's not her reminiscing anymore. And then she notices the hole. She notices that the bookstore is gone. I guess this is like the next day, right? It wasn't entirely clear to me because it felt like they were, on the spot, talking about cans of coffee, talking about Sumireko's past. Then they go back a little bit when she was, already an adult and she found a bookstore and was no longer there. And then we go back to the current time. But no, apparently this has to be like the next day. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. It's not entirely clear though. Right. A book, an affair, yeah, it's explained. And a mermaid. Severe trouble talking to others. It was because she had almost too much to say and wasn't able to pick the correct proper words to use, and everything just merged into a jumble of words. I sometimes have that issue, less when I'm speaking, more so when I'm writing, because I generally write slower than I'm speaking. I think most people do. My speech can still catch up to my thinking, but sometimes when it comes to writing, I like start writing one word and then jumble it together with another word, or I skip some letters because I'm already thinking of the end of the word apprehension while I'm still working APP. So I write APP Shion in effect. So again, another bit that I can somewhat empathize with. Not fully, unless I'm tired. Because when I'm tired, I am having trouble pulling out of my internal dictionary. I wasn't able to defend myself or apologize. Yeah, there's like, what, 3 responses? Flee, fight, flight, fawn. Yeah, so she's basically... And freeze, 4. So she's basically freezing, and then when she's unable to cope with freezing, she's getting into the fight mode a little bit, and then into fleeing. Yep, that's the legend of the bookstore that appears when you need it the most. There was a similar theme in Mahotsukai no Yome in the OVAs, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't watched the OVAs, I just read the description, and I believe Chise also found a bookstore like that when she needed it the most before she even met Elias. Right, there was something like that. There's plenty of legends of places like that that, you know, suddenly appear when you need them the most and help you solve your trouble. Very often it's like a bar or maybe a restaurant or something like that. I believe there were like at least 3 anime, and some of them in recent seasons that were basically based on like a bar or something appearing and people just randomly stumbling into it and the bartender being able to help them solve their problems, or right, stuff like that. I remember at least 3 that had a similar premise. Seemingly a very common trope of a place appearing exactly when you need it. Sunlight is a book's worst enemy. I so wish we had bookstores like that. Like, you know, old, dingy, you can smell the old books. I fucking love the smell of old books. I don't know why. Maybe it's full of fucking mold spores and it's probably not good for me, but I really like the smell of old books. It's so sweet. Maybe it's just my weird nose, but really, old books smell sweet to me. Adults cry when they need to cry too. Yeah, they sure do. Well, they can, and they should be able to. Whether they do or not, that depends. That depends on many factors. Sometimes you have a permission to cry from society. Sometimes you don't. And if you don't, then you don't cry because it's seen as unsightly or unseemly. Give it a read. Okay, book Charybdis. Charybdis book. Yeah, I know it's from Odyssey. There is a couple of books called Charybdis, apparently. There is Charybdis by K.A. Thompson. His life littered with the women he's used, including a dead hooker he'd planned on marrying. Okay, it's $4 on Goodreads, apparently. And Charybdis by Carlos Wiggins. That is about... yeah, it's like a historical fantasy, something like that. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so there are a couple of books named Charybdis at least. There won't likely be any other customers anyway. Yeah, because this bookstore is not about customers. It's about the one customer, the one particular customer that needs it at a given time. I think it's the other one. I think it's... No, I don't think it's the one by Carlos Wiggin. The one by Carlos Wiggin was like historical fantasy in ancient Greece. This doesn't look like ancient Greece. K.A. Thompson's one, maybe? Probably not. Whatever. They're probably made up. Yeah, oh no, books are boring, she says. Then, oh, it's the evening. Go home. You didn't even notice the passage of time. I know something about it. I would lay down in bed in the evening. I would tell myself, oh, I'm just gonna read a chapter. Just one chapter. Just one chapter. Then I would lay down and read, and oh, well, that chapter was short. I'm gonna read another one. And then I would just finish the book to the birds chirping in the morning, and I haven't slept. Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it goes. It's sunset. You should go home. And she was even able to land it. You brought it back, thank you, right? Doesn't need another offering, doesn't want the second book to be brought here because she genuinely wants to help her, or because she sees it maybe a little bit as an investment, right? Oh, she has a potential to be an author, and I would very much like to read her works, so let's nurture her a little so she's able to become that author, maybe. Or maybe it's just, you know, goodness of her heart. I can help her, so I will. The next book's title is... Do we even have it? No, we don't have the title. Seems to be like either a romance or a noir. The descriptions are very noir, right? The coffee had long since gone cold. Say, do you love your wife? Asked Julia. Julia? Behind me, the door opened and another customer came in, but I paid no heed. Helplessly, I answered without thinking. Of course I don't love her. In that moment, Julia looked behind me and smiled, just a little. It is very noir-y, isn't it? The person standing there was my wife. I felt like a surgeon caught in a net, and not in a good way. What's an affair? It's something that everyone does, but it's the absolute worst thing to get caught doing. Is it experience speaking? In you saying it's something that everyone does, and the absolute worst thing. That's really not a good definition, though. That's really not a good definition. And this one is called Europa. That's a Roman deity. Yeah, there's Oh, yeah, there's a novel by Tim Parks, published in '97. That's the most famous one, seemingly. Neurotic obsessive whose first-person narration describes a coach trip he and several colleagues take to Strasbourg in order to petition the European Parliament for improved working conditions for foreign university teachers working in Italy. Okay. It's probably not this book, then. Yeah, magic. It isn't ghosts who curse people. That's what a curse is. Yeah, they're getting closer. She's bringing snacks. A bookstore owner bringing snacks to a table where you read books. At least they're not, like, staining snacks. It's not like yogurt or coffee, so I guess some crumbs are excusable. Maybe. It's not like she's gonna smear some jam over the pages. But it's really, you know, she really has to have a lot of trust in Sumireko to bring any sort of snacks to her. She really needs to trust her to not dirty the books. Type of mystery that would knock a sumo wrestler dead. We don't get the title. We don't get the title, I don't think. You seem like you'll be alright now. What are we seeing exactly? Like the flow of words in her body? Her mental state? Like that... We've seen that imagery early when it was like red hot inside of her, right? All the words just melding together. This is separate words. Flying freely. That's what I wanted to say. And I have to adjust the camera again because it's early morning and the lighting conditions are changing by the minute. Yeah, the words are many, but they can flow freely. There we go. When the first time you came here, you were crying. Why was it? And she was willing to give her a listen, a proper, good and proper listen. Not asking, not hurrying her, just allowing Sumireko to take all the time she needs to find the correct and proper words. That's how you do it. You don't, if someone cannot find the proper words, you don't rush them. You don't even offer words for them. Like, you know, sometimes someone's speaking and they can't find a word, and then another person jumps in with, oh, you mean this or that, or finishes the sentence, rushing that other person. You don't do that. You really don't. You just sit patiently and wait for them to find the words. And this whole mess of words just, you know, eventually subsided. And the proper singular words that she actually needs to use, that she actually wants to use, resurfaced. I wonder what those words say exactly. I'd be much obliged if someone were to translate them and post a comment. Probably things related to her state, to her problems. Everyone has a dictionary inside their head. Indeed, they do. We unconsciously search through it for words when we speak. It's less like searching for words. It's more like working through association. Sometimes when you have some word on like the tip of your tongue and you can't spit it out, right? You know what I mean. It's caused, if I'm not mistaken, by your neural pathways not being like connected in the particular way that you were thinking. What I mean by that is if our neurons generally, as far as we know, because we don't really know how our brains work fully, but as far as we're concerned, our brain and our memory, and that includes language, work by association. For example, you have a neural pathway going from warm to fire to red. And if you see if you think warmth, you associate it with color red, right? And if you're trying to say something was adjective hot, then that neural pathway works and it gives you that adjective, something was red hot, right? That neural pathway exists and it's strong enough so that you can recall the word red based on hot, based on warm even. But for example, that neural pathway to the word red is weaker when it comes to health, for example, like health in games, it's usually red, right? But you don't have that association. You haven't played games, you haven't like bled much, you haven't seen Live Leak when you were 12, right? You don't have the association of health with red. So, or with red with blood or stuff like that, right? So you're trying to look for an adjective to something being blood, the color of blood, how do I say it? And that pathway is weaker. So you cannot recall that it's blood red. Not the greatest example, but you know what I mean, right? Like it's sometimes easier for you maybe to connect to the word red through association with blood rather than connect to it through association with warmth, or the other way around, like in my bad example. So it's not like we have like a list of words in our head that we just unconsciously sort through alphabetically or whatever. No, it works on the basis of associations. So sometimes when you have some word on the tip of your tongue, your brain is trying to access it through some association that perhaps isn't strong enough or perhaps doesn't exist. So using your words, and she's giving a very good tip. Like legitimately a very, very good tip. Right. Use the language. Any skill you don't use, you lose. Not fully, not entirely. Like if you were to not speak for 10 years, you would probably still remember how to speak after those 10 years. It's not something that you can fully forget, but you would have a harder time finding the correct words, because some of those neural pathways would have degenerated by then. So using the language, utilizing it daily in a conscious way as well, that really helps. And writing something down is really the thing that creates like the most neural pathways in our brain. Noting something down physically on paper allows you to remember it much better than if you were to type it on your keyboard or type it on your phone or say it out loud or whatever. Writing it down specifically. I don't know how exactly it works. Is it because it goes through like some special paths in your brain or whatever, or engages the brain more because it also includes, right, recognizing the symbols and directing your hand and shit like that? Maybe, but it's scientifically proven to work that way. Fun fact, one of the reasons, not the main reason, but one of the like smaller reasons why I even started making videos was because in my daily life, I don't really have a chance to speak English. I live in Poland. I don't use English on the daily. Sometimes there's like a foreign restaurant that I really like where they sell empanadas, and the owner mostly speaks English, a little bit of Polish, and of course mostly Argentinian because he's from Argentina, but his secondary language is essentially English, and that's like the only chance I can use to speak English. Maybe like a Uber driver that doesn't speak Polish. They sometimes know English, rarely, but sometimes they do. So to be able to use English in daily life, besides just writing posts on Reddit, but actually speaking it, using my mouth, there's videos. My channel, it really helps me use my English. So, little fun fact. Write down all the words you know and give them form. Yep, you're going to take the dictionary in your head apart, rearrange them, arrange them into passages, arrange those passages into pages, pages into chapters, chapters into books. You will write a vast number of passages. Yep, your everyday life in itself is a full-length novel. Yeah, sure. A boring one, perhaps, for most of us, but still. For her, for Sumireko, no, it's not a boring one, for sure. And it really wouldn't surprise me if by the end of this series, right, by the end of when the source material ends, the final chapter is Sumireko closing down her manuscript, and we see the like cover page titled Mysterious Disappearances, or Kaii to Otome. Really wouldn't surprise me. really wouldn't surprise me. Whenever a book author is involved in the story itself, you can be damn sure that the story itself has been written by that in-world author. Like goddamn Hobbit. I've already read nearly all the books after all. Yeah, she wants to read Sumireko's book. And it helped her find the correct words to use when speaking, when talking. Now that path was right in front of my eyes, yeah, but why is the bookstore ruined? I wonder. My assumption, initially, is that the bookstore appears when you need it, right? So I would assume that, oh, Sumireko needs this bookstore, maybe doesn't realize it, that she needs its help, but she does. So the hole in the fence appears, and the bookstore appears, and she can meet the proprietors again, and she can bring her her book, right? But no, apparently it's destroyed. Why would the hole in the fence appear if the bookstore is not there? Right? Why would it lead Sumireko here if there is no proprietors, if there is no bookstore, if there's no books? There had to have been a reason, right? I always felt that the way you speak is unusual. There's a certain stiffness. I'm assuming that's because she mostly uses words as they are in the dictionary, basically, rather than maybe having them flow a little bit more smoothly between each other, or maybe, I don't know, cutting off some final sounds or whatever that we know that happens with language on the daily, right? That's how you all turn into y'all, or don't want to turn into don't wanna, right? Basically, she'd rather say want to rather than wanna. That's what I'm getting from here? Maybe, probably. It naturally turned out that way due to how I write as I speak. Makes sense. I've taken a liking to this way of speaking, though. Right. My way of speaking English, it got influenced by so many things. Like in the first English classes that I took in kindergarten, where this like very academic English, devoid of any sort of accents and with fully pronounced words, every single one of them, right? Without any itses, but rather it is, right? My name is, instead of my names. And again, devoid of any accent. I had a teacher who was from California, so that was a little bit of Californian accent. I had a teacher who learned in, I believe, Scotland, so she had, very hard R's in how she was speaking, right? All right, children, let's open the book on page 44. Maybe not quite as hard, but you know what I mean. And a lot of my accent, a lot of the way I speak comes, surprise, surprise, from motherfucking My Little Pony. It was, I think, the first piece of media that I started consuming originally in English. I would watch it with Polish dubbing initially, then with Polish subtitles, and then I couldn't wait for the Polish subtitles to arrive on time, so I would just watch it without any subtitles, fully original. So my accent also has a little bit of Applejack and a little bit of rarity in it. Language is fun. Language is fun. Gyokushindo. Is that an actual urban legend? I'm willing to bet it is. Gyokushindo. There's Gyokushinru, and it's something from like Aikido. Gyokushindo is a page on Facebook, a page on Instagram, gyokushindo.com. Bujikan, it's like a martial arts organization. Doesn't seem to be some Naruto results. Doesn't seem to be anything like an actual urban legend. Gyokushindo urban legend. Nope. No results. Besides Kaii to Otome, episode 8, recap and review. Gyokushindo. Mysterious woman who likes books. Yeah. Apparently a legend that dates to way back when, to the time of the 5th shogun. She loved reading, and then she created the first library, essentially. Gyokushin-in. And she was the Honhime, the Lady of Books. When returning a book, you must add one more. That's a very nice rule, I gotta say. Yeah, one day when you write a novel, I hope you let me read it. Yep, you have some to made up for that promise, because you already did write a short story, at least, if not a full novel. So you really should bring that childhood story of yours to that store, should you find it, of course, and get to working on that novel, because that's also something you need to bring her. The PC, I really thought that it's going to be Sumireko sitting down to write, right? Getting a little bit of, whatchamacallit, a little bit of drive after reminiscing of that, and after remembering that, oh yeah, I promised to write a novel, but no, apparently it's a tuba. Mermaid VTuber Himeo Yorumun. To all you small fry out there, this is the mermaid VTuber. No leads on new cursed objects. Tsukimogami. Let's see if I was correct. Tsukimogami. Yep, tools that have acquired a kami or a spirit. Right, basically things that are that have been so heavily used, so heavily beloved, so heavily depended on, that they got a soul. A soul was created for them. This is a very, very interesting caveat to that. Everything is made to be thrown away. Right? Like, who's going to get attached to their hairbrush for long enough for it to become a Tsukimogami if the hairbrush is disposable? If it's not made of ivory and fancy fur or whatever, hairbrushed past through generations, 17 generations of Japanese princesses used the same exact hairbrush, so it gained conscience, right? No, nothing's gonna become Tsukimogami. Nothing's gonna be used for long enough. So the legend of Tsukimogami, the legend itself, is going to have to adapt. Yep. Digital data is treated with more care than physical items. Indeed. A beloved video game could become a Tsukimogami. So many people love it. So many people have played it, right? An arcade cabinet. A VTuber avatar. Not even the person themselves, just the avatar itself. Because that's what people are attached to, that's what people see. Haven't been studying, and a little bit of a panty shot. Tasteful, we don't see anything. And a promise to meet up. And this, like, just smack dab in the middle, separated. What the fuck's going on with my camera now? You good? You better be. Yeah, it really has the implication of them going their separate ways and not really being able to meet for at least some time, like a good, proper, bold separation. Not just see you tomorrow, but see you tomorrow, and they don't see each other tomorrow because something happens. This kind of deal. What did she look at? At a hospital. Why were you at a hospital? Family member? Probably a family member. Otohime. Yeah, there's someone exiting the hospital as well, I believe. Or is it the hospital or is it the apartment building where Nodoka lives? I'm not sure. I think it is the apartment building. I think it's her mother leaving for like a night shift or something like that. Maybe, I'm not sure. The school and dad are way too mean. Creating social media accounts or accounts on video sites for the purpose of hosting live streams or uploading videos is prohibited. Live streams and or videos can only be watched with a parent or guardian's permission, subject to a daily viewing limit at their discretion. What? Do schools in Japan legitimately have this much power? Like, I know that schools in Japan are like, don't walk around the city in your school uniform, go back home and change from that uniform, and then you might go out to the city to the arcade or whatever, but we don't want our school associated with the arcade. Or ideally, don't go to the arcade because, shit, if people recognize that you're a student at our school, what are they gonna talk about? The students of our school going to an arcade? Preposterous, right? I know that some, at least, schools in Japan are like that, but like a guideline to live streams and videos can only be watched with a parent or guardian's permission and daily viewing limit. Like, don't get me wrong, it's generally a good advice to not give your kids free reign on the internet, to at least like whitelist specific channels on YouTube or right stuff like that. But is it really in like the school's interest? Like, should school be getting involved here? I know. It's good that it does get involved here. Again, don't get me wrong, it is good advice, but still. Surprising to see something like that coming from a school, I guess. And what could it be prompted by? Did Nodoka want to start streaming as well? Making videos, maybe? Or is it the school noticed that a lot of students are only talking about I fucking know, a prank YouTuber who stole elder lady's bag and they want to also prank people or whatever kind of bullshit, and they noticed interacting to thwart that, to nip that in the bud? Maybe. Himeo Yorumun. How was your day today? Are we going to explore parasocial relationships in the upcoming arc? Probably. Perhaps in a more metaphorical way, where the like parasocial relationship actually creates a monster instead of being dangerous in more like subtle ways. It's dangerous in a very 2x4 in the face subtle way. I don't know. Maybe. Seems to be perhaps the case. And I'm assuming Otto got her maid costume. The bag looks too soft to be a wad of cash and too big to be a wad of cash, and it looks too soft and pillowy to be pastries or something. It really looks like clothes would be inside. Dreams dancing at Tsukumogami. That's our Tsukumogami. For sure. Alrighty. Whew. Very good episode. I really enjoyed it. Not like particularly much in this episode. We learned of a new curiosity of this like bookstore. We learned a little bit of more backstory on Sumireko, and we got to know her a little bit more. And that was basically it, but it was still very, very nice to see it. It was very nice to get a little bit into Sumireko's mind, to learn where she gets her passion for writing from, right? All those nice and nifty little details about her. I really enjoyed this episode. Partly also because I was able to really like see myself in it, see myself portrayed here, see like my own love for books reflected here, my own myself being in one way or another kind of saved by books, just like Sumireko was. And yeah, if I were to retire one day, which is not a given with current economy, I would absolutely buy myself a fucking piece of grassland, a meadow. I would plump a bookstore in the middle, and I would be selling used books. And I would be talking with people and making them tea and selling all the books. That would be ideal. That would be a dream. Oh man. Yeah, this is great. This episode was great. I had so much fun with it. What will the future bring? I don't know. I wonder. It's very interesting to me that we get to see a VTuber represented here. I'm very used to most anime that appears being mostly adaptations of like older manga that itself is an adaptation of an older light novel, perhaps. And I'm used to everybody having flip phones, and I'm used to I'm used to people not using laptops but having like a stationary PCs with a CRT screen, stuff like that, right? I'm used to that, seeing that in anime adaptations. My first Actually, I can't remember what was the first anime that made me realize that, oh yeah, anime is entering like the modern era. I think it might have been Tokyo 24 Cool. Or maybe it was earlier in Symphogear. I'm not sure. But there was like an anime that showed like an actual proper smartphone being used, and not like a fantasy or sci-fi smartphone with thick bezels like the smartphones that Cat makes. It's very interesting to me seeing something this contemporary, as contemporary as fucking VTubers appear in anime, right? It's so cool to see that. It's so interesting, and I really like the framing of it, where, well, you can't get attached to your toothbrush and make it a tsukumogami because toothbrushes are disposable. But there are other things people get attached to. People get attached to a flash game. People get attached to a meme. People get attached to a VTuber model, VTuber avatar. And those things can turn into tsukumogami. I really, really, really liked it. Right? Like it. See, my internal dictionary is malfunctioning a little bit. Again, I really like... I already said it in like previous episodes, but I really like what they're doing with the urban legends here. How they're making them more contemporary, but in a very like respectful way. They're not doing the adapting for modern audiences or whatever bullshit where you can barely recognize it, but they're using the core of the legend, and they're adapting it to the world it is now, where a mystery of someone knocking at your door and you then being found in a jungle or in the mountains, that's not scary enough for modern people. So they jumble that story up. They're adding more details and something new comes out of it. where everything is disposable, so can't really count on Tsukumogami. But there are other things, other items that people get attached to nowadays, and they can become Tsukumogami. I really, really like what they're doing with urban legends here. I'm really enjoying this show, and I hope you do too, because it's worth enjoying. And I think that's gonna be it. I've already been talking for over an hour, so I better finish it. But you guys, you tell me, what did you think of this episode, of my reaction, my theories, stuff like that, in the comments down below. As always, no spoilers though. Spoilers can go to my Discord here, also in the description, if you want to talk about them. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe to be notified of future videos, not only Kaii to Otome, but also Yuuki, Yuuna, the finale already up on Patreon, Kaiju Hachigo, Sentai Daishikaku, Mysterious Disappearances, plenty others. Yeah, Mysterious Disappearances, there we go. Unnamed Memory, plenty others coming in the future. Click the bell to be notified of when I go live, because I do sometimes. Support the channel if you want monetarily on Patreon down below, where for $10 a month you get early access to non-seasonal shows like Yuuki, Yuuna, and for just $1 you get a role on the Discord and a place in the credits. You can also support me directly on YouTube through memberships, super thanks, super chats, and if you don't want to spend any money whatsoever, you don't have to. Share my content, spread the word, it costs absolutely nothing and helps the channel a lot. And now with all of that out of the way, that's gonna be it from me for today. So as always, you guys do all the good stuff, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Cheers! And here's my wonderful Patreons: QB, Without a Net, Zarene, Yukiala, Ishtamu, Dr. Wata, Common Sir, Marsh, Fassel, and Hans Peter. And you can join them if you want without having to find an abandoned bookstore. Well, not quite abandoned, but you know what.